Welcome to the Retail Therapy Sessions.
We're going to talk about shitty situations with DMs and visits and then whatever other random stuff, we come up with. We've got Hybrid with us today, and we've got Blame Tag. So small group, but should be fun. So I was talking about a corporate person that I worked for that is now at another company, and I was working for Big Lots and had taken over a store that was in the floor and fixed it. And the first visit with him was great. He was like, oh, wow. Halfway through the walk, he's like, am I in the same store? Well, then later on, I was trying to transfer back to Atlanta, and my DM approved it. I had already talked to the DM in Atlanta, knew I was coming, was already packing to move. And then all of a sudden one day, my DM says, you can't go. And I'm like, what do you mean I can't go? You already signed the paper. And he's like, well, we're shorthanded. I'm like, dude, we're packed and ready to go. And then he raised Cain to this corporate person. And this corporate person said, yeah, you can't go. And I'm like, and the DM in Georgia didn't even know any of this was going on. And he calls me, he's like, so you're going to start such and such day? I'm like, nobody's contacted you? And he's like, no. I'm like, they said I can't come. And he's like, what the fuck are you talking about? You can't come. So that pissed me off. I quietly got the job with Kmart, and then I went to work one day, cleaned my office, left my keys with my assistant, and walked out. Are you familiar with the other former Big Lots manager that works up here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a lot of them joined the company.
Yeah, that was some crazy stuff. So, well, I want to talk about, kind of Hybrid, something that's happened with you recently, and happens with all of us. When you get the unexpected visit and your gut just tells you it is not good.
Well, it's like, I'm already giving him what he wants. I'm stepping down from my operations manager position, which is pretty much an assistant manager. But he's already written up my manager, I want to say twice. So it's going to fall more on her, unfortunately, than it is on me. Because pretty much Sunday, I turn in my keys, and I'm just a regular employee again.
How much of a pay cut you got to take for that?
Well, about 50%.
Jeez. Damn.
Yeah.
But in the long term, it'll be worth it.
Yeah, I mean, because I buy and resell on the side. I mean, I bought a $700 computer for $7, and I resold it for $450.
Yeah, I'm pretty jealous.
So, yeah, so I can subsidize that loss of income right there.
That's true. I do hate the Mad Dog is no longer there because, she would text me like when she'd find like cool shit in the bins. And I'm like, oh, yeah. And that's where we had gotten the robot vacuum cleaner for like $5. And I look it up on Amazon and it's like $200 or some shit like that. And I'm like, wow. And there was some music gear and stuff she sent me pictures of. I'm like, go ahead and get that. I'll swing by and pick it up. So I hate that I don't have that in anymore. But, it's going to be interesting to see what happens there because there's a former employee of mine that was one of her key carriers that I'm sure you've heard of. Oh,
I didn't know she worked for you too.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how that all pans out with new management. But I don't know why some of these companies do this. They come in and they just decide they're going to clean house for whatever reason, and don't like when I worked for Hobby Lobby, it was the same thing. When our DM got let go unceremoniously, the ones of us that were tight with her all of a sudden became targets. Like it had nothing to do with anything we did. It just happened to be because, we were in good with her and they made our lives just miserable. And Blame Tag, I think you got a situation coming up where you're going to have some new blood, right?
Well, yeah, I think they, I didn't really look into it. I don't know if they just redistricted us or gerrymandered the district somehow. Yeah, they basically moved us from the southern to the eastern district. So we've got a new DM who will be coming through the store tomorrow, which will be fun.
Yeah, that always sucks because you never know what to expect.
Yeah. I know, excuse me, back in my movie theater life when we got bought out, you know, I don't mind putting them on blast. It was actually Rave Motion Pictures was the company that bought us and came in and just cleaned out like almost the entire management staff and then rehired from, you know, from the existing staff or transferred from other theaters. But I think maybe only one guy I can think of remained from that old management staff that was there when they came in. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy that shit goes on now, especially with the labor issue. I mean, they'll just, you know, they want to holler about nobody wants to work. But by God, if they decide they want to clean house, they're going to clean house.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know, man. It's kind of crazy to me. You know, I'm very thankful, you know, for the situation I'm in now. Hybrid, I think you'll be happier, obviously, not having to deal with all the bullshit because it is relieving. That is for sure. You know, it's funny being where I'm at and not being in management anymore and kind of watching shit go down around you. And you're like, oh, I'm so glad I don't have to deal with that shit anymore. You know, the president of the company walks in. It's like, whoop, I'm just moving boxes around. You guys have fun.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it again.
Yeah, I mean, are you looking to do anything else? Or are you looking to just stick it out there until the last minute?
I've been there since the store that I'm at was the 23rd store in the company. I've been there since they opened up. So it's been about 7.5 years, 8 years. And with all the changes to the company, from the way that they used to mark stuff down when they first opened up with the automatic date system to just randomly marking stuff down now, I'm ready to be gone. Like, I'm looking for other jobs, especially with the retail refuge that I'm trying to do.
Right. That, you know, I dodged a bullet with them because you remember the DM that got fired?
Yeah.
All right. So I knew him obviously from Big Lots. And I had been talking to him, you know, back when he was just a store manager. And he had a lot of good to say about the company at that point in time. And he hooked me up with a recruiter in Georgia. And I was looking to move back to Kennesaw. And, you know, that was where I wanted to go. And I had a couple of interviews with him, and he would touch base with me and said at that point in time they had somebody there, but he wasn't 100% sure they were going to stay because evidently at that point in time the Kennesaw location was like top 3 in the company or some shit like that.
Yeah.
And then, you know, everything went down with him and whatnot. And then this stuff that went down with Mad Dog and the stuff, you know, for me, boy, I dodged a bullet. I'm glad I did not decide to go do that shit.
Well, I mean, when we first opened up, they had this automatic markdown system where there's a date on the ticket for the prices. And then 30 days after the date on that, it would go down 10%. Then every 10 days after that, it'd go down another 10%. So it'd be 90% off within 90 days of it hitting the store. And then, yeah. And that's when I started buying and reselling because people would gamble. You know, I bought a $800 guitar for $36.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay. Being a musician, I need to know what kind of guitar did you get?
It was a ESP 360, I think it was. Actually, I have the label right over here because I just resold it.
Holy shit. You're going to make me vomit.
ESP LTD EX 360.
Bless, man. So how many cycles of bins have you been through so far?
4. They slowed them down. Before we were getting them every 2 weeks, and now I want to say the last time we had it was a month ago.
How much good stuff comes in on that stuff? I mean, like, obviously you've gotten some great deals, like the computer and stuff you told me about, but is it kind of like a bait and switch thing? Kind of like they know that employees are going to like snag up all the good shit?
Not really. Because I've seen people walk out with like 3 or 4 buggies of stuff on the first day. Because any day after the first day, everything's just in pieces and just scattered throughout the bins. Now,
it's my understanding from Mad Dog, you keep them out for a week, and then what happens like at the end? Don't you have to pack that shit up?
Like pretty much, they come in at $7. 3 days later, they get marked down to $5, and then by Friday, it's back to $1. And then I have to put all the pieces in the one bin, and then clean them out of all the garbage, like the plastic and the cardboard, and then I send it back.
Do you have to scan it or anything, or you just put it in the bin and ship it back?
I just put it in the bin and ship it back.
Oh, so like I said, Blame Tag, I got, she had sent me pictures of stuff. There was a USB microphone set. I mean, it's not like high dollar stuff, but it was, decent enough. I think it was like $50 or $60, something like that. USB microphone, good to have as a backup, completely factory sealed in a box. With her discount, I got it for like $5. The robot vacuum cleaner was $5, and you got that laptop, right?
Yeah, I got it was an Acer 3 Swift, which I'm still debating on selling it. Like it was that 360 degree levels with lights, some tools that were each about $50 each, and a drawing tablet, which was about $70. $900 worth of stuff that I got for $80.
Yeah, you need to check that shit out, Blame Tag, if you've got one down there, because it is. I mean, my wife and I went in there to go pick this stuff up that Mad Dog had saved for me, and there was still, and this had been like 3 or 4 days after, they had been there, and there was still like some good shit in there. And
I just looked. I got like 300 miles is the closest.
Oh, that sucks.
But maybe I could find the equivalent different brand or a different store. But yeah.
Yeah, the bin thing's interesting to me. I don't.
Well, there's a few places that do the bins.
Yeah, we've got some here locally, but it's just like garbage. And then we have in Gaffney, South Carolina, is kind of like the redneck the version of like Tanger outlets, basically. And there's a bin place there, and they run the same thing. Like like on one day it's a certain price, and then it goes down during the week. And we actually went into that one, and that was they didn't have shit. It was just like garbage, a bunch of Amazon direct cables and stuff like that. I mean, I can see like if you're going in there it's obviously one of those deals where you got to be there the day they come in, and they're on the floor first in order to really get like all the good shit. How much are they making on that though?
See, that's the thing. When the company first started, like I said, with the date system, they would buy just truckloads and truckloads of just Amazon stock and returns from Target, returns from Walmart. They would even get appliances from like Best Buy and Home Depot that were just dented, and they would sell like a double door steel fridge for $400.
Jesus.
Yeah.
I've seen some music gear come through, and I will say that was a little shocking to me because the prices were more expensive than what you could get it for new. I specifically remember a guitar amp coming through. I'm like, oh, well, there should be a good discount. And I looked, and I'm like, nope, you can get that cheaper at Guitar Center. And I found that a little weird.
Well, I want to say it was about 4 or 5 years ago, they pushed out the guy who started the company. And that's when all the people from Big Lots came in and other companies came in, and they started buying right from the manufacturer instead. And then they kind of turned us into a Big Lots.
It's hard keeping those stores clean.
Yeah.
Imagine it, Blame Tag, kind of like, well, it really is like a Dollar Tree kind of environment, or a Dollar General, because it's discount retail. But it's a lot of hodgepodge. It's not like, they've got planograms for like an entire line of stuff. You got to have a management team that's good at merchandising and whatnot to make it look good. And your guys' payroll is shit anyway, from what I understand. And it takes a lot for them to keep those fucking things clean.
I wonder, like as a kid, because, grew up without a lot of money. So like we went outlet shopping sometimes, and I wonder if it's like, those places were just disaster areas.
Yeah, because you're going in. These customers are coming in pillaging through this shit.
Oh yeah,
and that's one thing about Mad Dog. I mean, you actually went to her store, didn't you, Hybrid? Yeah,
in November I went and helped out for a few days.
All right, so I I live basically in between her store and the other gentleman from Big Lots store, and I can tell you that hers blew his away as far as store conditions went. I mean, her store looked really, really good, and you know, for a lot of people, it's hard working for her because she's hard to work for. Not because, you know, she's a terrible person. It's just because her standards are where they need to be. And if she feels like if she's going to be there busting her ass, everybody that works there needs to bust their ass too. So, yeah. You know, she comes across as really, really harsh, but by God, Mad Dog work. Make no mistake.
Oh no, when I was there, she was, even as cashiering, she was still up there labeling pallets.
Yep.
As fast as I could stock them.
She's a prime example of good managers getting run off because she has the balls to say what she needs to say.
Yeah.
She does not drink Kool-Aid at all. She'll spit that shit in your face.
Well, neither did my previous manager before. I'll call her Boss Lady. Before Boss Lady, my manager was from Big Lots and Marshalls, and he did not. Yeah. So he knew what the game was. He knew what to do, but he wouldn't drink the Kool-Aid.
Yep. Well, I worked for Marshalls too. That was probably the worst. It's the second worst job of my entire career.
That's where Miss Fooligan works.
I hated it. Hated it. So that was the most toxic building I have ever worked in my life. Just awful.
Yeah, that's what she says.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. So, but I don't know, man. It's just sad, you know, seeing managers get ran off, especially these days, because, you know, just because they speak their mind. You know, there was never a request that Mad Dog made that was, you know, over the top or not necessary. And to your point, like you said, now the person that's replaced her, they're getting all that stuff.
Yeah. And I mean, she's been requesting it since last year. And then the guy who is now the CEO of the company, who just came in back in January, I want to say his words were, her store wasn't profitable.
Correct.
But yet she had the best numbers in the district, the best survey scores. In fact, she had the most surveys in the company out of 85 stores. So why not give her what she needs and then make it even more profitable?
Well, I happened to be in there one day when your DM was in there. Boy, you want to talk about somebody who looks lost. I'm surprised. It wouldn't surprise me at all. They pushed her out the door because he was terrified of her. Was that little weasel? Jesus!
I told you, he looks just like David Caruso.
Man, boy, when she showed, number one, he was not dressed like you would expect Ian to be dressed. She's like, "That's my boss." I'm like, "No, it's not." She's like, "Yeah, it is." And he was trying to help a customer, and I'm like, "Oh my God, I could not work for that." He just had that look about him, like I would punch him in the face, you know?
Yeah.
Because he doesn't look intimidating at all, but evidently he's quite the weasel.
Yeah, he'll go behind our backs, and he'll act all friendly to the management staff, and then as soon as they're behind closed doors, he snaps on them.
Whatever, dude. Where'd he come from?
I believe it was Macy's.
Wow. Boy, talk about lowering the bar at Macy's. Jesus God.
Yeah, and I think after this year, he's retiring.
Oh, well, that's good. That's great. So,
yeah.
So let's just kind of like chop it up here. Some of the stuff that we've seen in the news and whatnot. And Blame Tag, let's talk about your research into the Sunday crowd.
Hit kind of a wall in that research. So basically, we were looking at just kind of asking different Facebook groups, a couple of Reddit groups, churchgoers, why do you think churchgoers are dicks to customer service workers after they leave church?
Some of the responses you got, bro. I mean,
not unexpected, but yeah.
I don't know why. I mean, it's almost like you feel like they go and cleanse themselves. And this is just like the first thing they do after they get out of church, after they have cleansed their soul. they need to go get their evil on again. I mean, it's the weirdest thing because it's a real phenomenon.
I had a few people, especially on Reddit, were just kind of like, oh, this is just anecdotal evidence, that, the old meme source, trust me, bro.
Yeah.
Like, they're just like, you're full of shit. This, it's not true. Facebook, I mean, really only one group really got into it with me. And, like, I think their answers were overwhelmingly, those are other denominations, those aren't us. Or, some other people do that, but I don't. Like, there's a lot of that going around. Where I'm like, well, it's got to be somebody.
Southern Baptist, maybe? That would be my pick. Because you did.
Because I lived up north, and then I moved down here to Florida, and I've gotten it at both places. So, I mean, I don't know what the primary religion was up there. Probably just button-up Catholic. I don't know.
Well, with you being where you're at now, it could be a big mix, but I know where I'm at. I mean, it is a huge Southern Baptist. Probably same thing for you, Hybrid. And you can't. It's weird because, I mean, we know it's a real thing. I mean, it's not anecdotal, regardless of what anybody tries to tell you. If it wasn't a real thing, you wouldn't even be, broaching the question with these people. And there again, some of the responses you got, those are exactly the same people that are probably going out and doing it.
There's one lady like really let me have it in one of the groups, and actually it was funny because she's like, this guy's just here to stir us up. I will not respond to him anymore. And then like the next day she's like, why don't you explain to me what your complaint is about religious people? And I just like responded like, oh, well, I thought you weren't going to respond to me anymore, but okay. And then, I told her like, yeah, ask anyone in customer service. They'll tell you that this is absolutely a real phenomenon. It's not something I'm just making up to piss you off.
Well, I like how somebody tried to flip it back, the whole, well, you just suck at customer service. Yeah,
it was, she said, why don't they train customer service workers to serve customers anymore, is what she said.
Yep. I mean, because we're tired of your shit, honestly. Yeah. but I mean, it is. I mean, especially like if you work in a grocery store, that has a deli on Sundays. Oh, Jesus Lord. Man, if they're not all going out to eat somewhere, by God, they are coming to your deli and wiping you out of chicken. And if you don't have the chicken, they mad. Like, they real mad.
Yeah.
And I just don't understand, I grew up, in a fairly, I'm not going to say overly religious family, but, my parents, made us go to church and stuff like that. And it was Southern Baptist. And, you can kind of spot those people a mile away when you grow up in it. And it is. I mean, they are absolutely the rudest. And I don't understand why. It's like, that goes against everything. You just sat for an hour and a half, listened to a guy preach to you. Everything, it goes against every bit of that. So I think I saw somebody on Twitter had made the comment about how they're just angry because they got yelled at and pointed out how shitty they were in church.
Yeah, I had a couple people say stuff like that. I was trying to find the one response. This one guy, I think this is from Reddit. They go to a weekly hype event that makes them feel very self-justified about specific abstract ideas they embrace. Often there is a belief that they are above material concerns such as money. That's why they feel justified leaving little pamphlets that look like $20 bills.
Yeah.
There's often a correlation with affluence, which is its own toxic influence.
Yeah. And the other thing, too, is if you go even further into this, other than the customer service thing, the one thing I have noticed is if you're part of any church, the older members there act like they run the damn place. I mean, they feel like they are the pillars of the church. They're the reason why the church is surviving. And they have this arrogance about them that they carry with them when they go out into public. And
that my mom's growing up, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and it's terrible because it's like, A, who do you think you are? B, why do you think you're so damn important? And C, what gives you the right to take that same attitude out into the general public who's not even asking for it and just berate people? And that's what I've seen with a lot of people, treating customer service workers and restaurant workers like ass. after church, it's typically those same people, the uppity, they're older, they've got money saved up, I'm not going to say they're necessarily rich, but they're well-to-do, and they think they got the world by the balls.
I don't know if this is part of it, but someone else suggested that it's just a case of them looking down on people who weren't in church on Sunday. Like, you're not, obviously, if you're working, you didn't go to church today. So that, in my eyes, makes you a piece of shit. That's
very possible. But those are also the same people that will come shopping on a holiday and say, oh, I can't believe that you had to work today.
Yeah.
I mean, because it's still, at the end of the day, they can try to spin it however they want. The end of the day, it's still all about them.
Yeah, I mean, it also might come down to, this is an article I read a long, long time ago. I think it's called Into the Monkey Sphere, where the human brain can only recognize a certain amount of people as people. And maybe it could be that they don't recognize people outside of their congregation as people, so they can justify themselves treating people badly. I mean, that might be part of it. I don't know.
Oh, that's an interesting one. I've never heard that before. That's very possible. But I don't know. I mean, it's such a real thing. And when you start asking questions like you did, you get like basically the internet side eye, like, what the hell is this guy doing? Yeah. But it's something that we've all experienced. I mean, hybrid, it's got to be bad where you're at.
Luckily, I kind of make my own schedule, so I don't work on Sundays, just because that's the day I spend with Miss Hooligan.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I want to say one of the employees had text messaged me one Sunday and was like, "It's a fucking zoo."
It is. Same here. I'm fortunate enough. I don't work Sundays, and I'm in the grocery business now, so I know exactly. I live like 5 minutes away from where I work, and I've got 2 growing boys, so I'm always in that damn store, even when I'm not working. And so I've been in there on Sundays, and I just feel for the staff there, because it is just an absolute zoo. And I, did the tweet yesterday about people getting mowed down with shopping carts. Sunday's the worst. You will get absolutely bulldozed by some lady with blue hair, not even paying attention. She done tithed her 10%. She's came into your store. She's mad because you're out of Apple Jacks, and now you're going to get run over. I'd been out of the grocery business for a while, and so I decided this was going to be my landing spot, and I'm done. And sure enough, it snowed, and it's like, oh God, here we go. And just the first mention of snow. I mean, even if it doesn't snow, just the first mention of snow, these people act like they're going to freeze to death and die. And they're coming and buying 3 and 4 carts worth of food that's probably going to expire before they actually eat it. And it's just, it is insane. It is the only time I've ever seen it worse was when COVID first hit. That's the only thing that it compares to.
It's like when I worked at Kroger during the snowstorms about 8 years ago, there's people like going into the store 11 o'clock to buy produce. It's like, It's a snowstorm. Is a banana really that? There's ice on the ground. You really wouldn't need a banana that bad?
Bro, when it snowed here, the power went out in like the freezer section. So I go in the day that it snowed, because I only, live like basically across the street, and the freezers went down. And so we're having to pull everything out of the freezers. We had basically like caution tape up. We had people come through the caution tape and, like lift the tape over their head, push their shopping cart in, and start grabbing stuff that was completely thawed and mushy, and wanting to buy it. We're like, you can't buy that. It's bad. Oh, can I get a discount? Well, no, but you can die from food poisoning. It's not fit to eat.
Yeah.
People are nasty.
Yeah. I mean, it's insane. And it's like, number one, it goes back to like customers not being able to read signs. You got basically, like crime scene tape wrapped around the entire area. Oh, I guess this is just here for looks. And they just come right on through. It was awful. But yeah, hybrid down there, because I lived in Kennesaw around 15 years or so. And, down there, the only grocery stores, I don't know if it's the same where you're at exactly, but it was a lot of Kroger's and a lot of Publix.
This has been the Retail Therapy Sessions. Make sure to check out the Retail Warzone podcast as well, and if you like what we do, please leave a review and share with your friends. Thanks for listening.